Alright, yo guys, how's it going? It's your boy, the KK Gangster here, coming guys today with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be reacting to You're Too Self-Aware and You Hate It by the YouTuber named Fads, who actually only has 18,000 subscribers, even though this video went pretty viral for a person his size, 500,000 views. Video will play after ad. Well, what can we do about that, boys? You think I'm going to skip over that for you guys? You think I'm going to cut this part out just for you guys' entertainment? Oh, I have to keep you guys entertained. I'm going to cut the advertisement out. No, deal with it.
Movies is The Matrix. There's a scene like halfway through where Neo, the main character, goes to visit this figure called the Oracle, and she's supposed to enlighten him on whether or not he's the one. As he walks into her home, there's this phrase inscribed above the door, Temet Noski, and it means know thyself. And I think it captures something really special about the way a lot of us view the world. There's this idea that by understanding yourself, you can live a better, more meaningful life. And it transcends culture and generations. And for most of my life, I would have agreed. But the more I looked into it, the more this idea that understanding yourself is the key to being happy is not necessarily as clear-cut as it seems at first.
Right.
But before we get to that, let me ask you a question, something that's been on my mind. How do you know whether you're self-aware or whether you just think you're self-aware?
Well, if you think you're self-aware, you probably are self-aware. Because people who aren't self-aware do not want to ever think about being self-aware. It doesn't really bother them that much. It's not something that they think about on the day-to-day. So if you think that you're self-aware, even if you think about this. If you think that you're not self-aware, that's you being self-aware about your self-awareness. So even if you think that you're not self-aware, you're still probably more self-aware than the average population.
Okay, to begin to even answer that, we have to ask ourselves what's self-awareness in the first place. And to get to something that we can work with, we have to kind of get a bit meta about the whole thing.
Stop being meta. Why do you always have to take whatever happens to us and shove it up its own ass?
He's not being meta. He's just pointing out what none of us want to acknowledge.
People are really special when you think about it. Every day we have thousands and thousands of thoughts that we have to pass through without completely losing the plot. What's more, we don't just think thoughts, we have the ability to think thoughts about the thoughts we've just thought. I don't know, try saying that 5 times. Basically, we can reflect on the way we think in itself and change it. It's introspection, right? Most of us are able to somewhat assess the limits of our own intelligence and change our behaviors in response to that. But when I think about self-awareness, it means a bit more to me than that. It's about thinking about my behaviors and my emotions, and not only that, it's also thinking about how the world around me sees me, how my friends.
The filming on this video is actually pretty good. You have so much B-roll going into this video, and then also the different angles every time you get out of the B-roll. That's pretty impressive.
People I interact with on a daily basis perceive my actions and my behaviors. To me, part of being self-aware is understanding that someone else can see the exact same thing as I've seen and leave with a completely different conclusion. There's layers to the idea of self-awareness, and I think we need to do a bit more research before we can actually figure out what's going on. But fortunately for me, I have a computer right here, so let's dive in.
See, like this is so well shot. Like he says, dive in, and he's like on the Google search, and then he's highlighting everything, and then it's not even screen recorded yet. You see the B-roll. You can see like the laptop outline. Very well. It's really nice filming, directing. There you go. He goes like the eye shot because he's looking at it.
Okay, so I came across the website of this
Very
friendly
unique
looking lady, and her name is Dr. Tasha Eurich, and she literally wrote the book on self-awareness. It's crazy. Called Insight: The Surprising Truth About How Others See Us, How We See Ourselves, and Why the Answer Matters.
Okay, can we stop this thinking that just because you write a book about something automatically means that you're knowledgeable about it? Because writing a book is simply typing on your keyboard. It's just as knowledgeable as making a documentary or a YouTube video about it. Because you can say words and you can type words, but for some reason we put such a high value on typing the words out instead of just saying them. And they could be saying the exact same thing, but people just say, "Oh my god, he wrote about it, guys, he wrote about it. That means he's knowledgeable." And that's not really necessarily the case.
More than we think. And I've basically spent the day reading through all of their papers, and I've come to some interesting conclusions, I think, about how self-awareness affects us. Throughout all of the research for this, I just kept asking myself this one question. Why? Why do I care about self-awareness? What's the point? Why don't I just watch Netflix or something? Why? And I think therein lies one of the biggest problems with introspection and with excessive introspection. I think we can all agree that there's an innate human need to ask why things happen. Even as a kid, you ask why the sky is blue or why the moon is round. Explanations are just quite nice. They add sense and order to the things we do. And they just make the world feel like a more comfortable, less messy place. There's just something really unsatisfying about having an effect without a cause. But the more I look into it, the more it seems like this human compulsion to find explanations is one of the things that can actually be holding us back. We're not just really good at finding...
I completely disagree with that. I think it completely pushes us forward as a human race. And people asking the questions of why and how and stuff is how we get to innovation and new technologies and developments within the world and the economy and stuff like that. So how and why are two different questions. Obviously he's just going why, but why does things happen? Why does the world work? It's a very interesting question, and if you go into the very deep specifics, you can ask why anything of any part happens. And if you research that, you can really come up to innovation and development in the economy.
Explanations for things. We're also really good at creating explanations. And this isn't just for factual events or historical things. This also applies to our emotions and the way we feel about ourselves. I know that anytime I experience an intense emotion, my brain goes straight into analysis mode, trying to find a logical chain of events that has led me to feel the way that I do. But the reality is, a lot of our emotions occur for no reason. A lot of our thoughts and a lot of our beliefs occur for no reason too. There doesn't necessarily have to be a reason why...
This guy is so nerdy, it's insane. I don't mean to be mean, but it's just like the whole analysis of his emotions thing and how sometimes he just has emotions. I think that's just how humans are made to be, you know?
Sad or a reason why you feel happy. Sometimes you just feel that way. And this can help us understand why introspection can go from something that can...
If you're a theologist, you might say that that's how God intended the human experience to be. Or if you're of any sort of religion, you would say that's how your creator intended the human experience to be, so that's why the way it is. And that God created all emotions, good and bad, according to humans. Even if you're an atheist, you would still probably enjoy living that human experience, the good and the bad. So to question it really is not necessary if you enjoy not knowing the answer.
If you understand yourself in a deeper, more meaningful way to something that can be really, I guess, toxic. And Dr. Urich's research gets right into the heart of this. She basically reviewed all of the literature on self-awareness and found some really interesting conclusions. She found that people who are more introspective, people who spend more time reflecting about their own thoughts and feelings, aren't always the most self-aware people. When we spend too much time in our own heads, we end up creating these narratives about ourselves. We create a system of internal logic, and everything we experience and feel has to fit into that little model that we've made about ourselves, even if it doesn't reflect reality.
My right foot hurts really bad because I'm sitting crisscross applesauce.
Excessive introspection basically lets your own biases take over and become the yardstick by which you interpret reality. You can quickly go from self-reflection to self-rumination. At the end of the day, self-awareness is only useful if it helps you be a better person for yourself and for the people around you. And so it's not to say that not believing everything that you think about yourself, and the importance of having loving critics in your life, people who can give you an external but honest opinion on your behaviors and your actions. The conclusion that I've reached is that self-awareness is useless if you're not using it to ultimately reach a state of self-acceptance, rather than falling into the trap of believing your own guilt. We're not always right.
No, I see. I sort of disagree with this. You are always right about yourself and within the moment, but because humans are constantly changing, your view of yourself will constantly change, and that doesn't mean that you were wrong in the past. And this whole accepting yourself thing is kind of degrading to yourself, because you should always try to push yourself forward and make self-improvement, because that's how you become your highest possible self, and ultimately change the world for the better. And you're just constantly growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And it's the critiques of yourself that allow you to do that. Because your self-acceptance, that means self-stuck. And sort of, you're just chained down to your current state without the room for improvement, because you've accepted your state. And I don't know if that's necessarily good for yourself or for society, because a healthy society needs men and women who are constantly pushing themselves forward and to become better human beings. If you're accepting of yourself within the youthful state, that's really how you get societal decay, because people are staying in this youthful mindset without self-growth for most of their lives, and then they're parenting that way, and then raising their kids to be more immature than they were, and that's how we get societal decay by and large in the mass. So, no, self-acceptance is not a good thing.
And we're definitely not always right about ourselves.
That was a pretty good video, though. I really enjoyed how it was directed. His speech is really good. I combined the word speech with his talking skills, so I said speeching. But yeah, guys, I disagreed with a few points there, and you're not necessarily always right about yourself. I think you are always right about yourself within that moment, but moments can change very rapidly or over time, and that doesn't mean that you were wrong about yourself within the previous moment. That just means that you've changed and developed, and maybe your circumstances has changed, maybe the society has around you has changed, environmental has changed, but it's just that constant state of development that makes you not right about yourself all the time, when you were right about yourself within that moment, but it's just the moment has changed, so you're not, that previous version would not be correct to today's version of you, but that doesn't mean that it was wrong about the previous version of you. And that's what I'm going to leave you with. That's what I'm going to leave you guys with today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video so much, and if you did, please hit the like button to make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.